The entrance goes here!
You fool, that makes no sense!
Welcome to Ancient Egypt, where the yearly flood was your calendar app, the sun was your boss, and the cat was your HR rep. For 3 millennia, give or take a few please hold messages called intermediate periods, Egyptians tried to keep Ma'at, cosmic order, from face-planting. From Narmer smacking his enemies in the early dynastic, strong brand choice, to Cleopatra negotiating with Rome, the vibe was continuity with occasional chaos DLC. The Nile rose, fields greened, granaries filled, and everybody paid taxes in grain, beer, and size. Temples weren't just churches. They were banks, labs, schools, and the original content farms, carving propaganda so deep you can still read it at noon without glasses. Scribes ran the paperwork multiverse, ration lists, love poems, medical recipes, and the kind of HR complaints that survive on papyrus purely out of spite. Foreign visitors came and went, Hyksos with horse tech, Nubian pharaohs bringing style, Persians with bureaucracy on hard mode, Greeks remixing the pantheon, Romans pretending they get the crocodile thing. Yet across all that, the locals kept doing Egypt, weighing hearts against feathers, mummifying literally anything that meowed, and carving kings larger than apartment buildings because subtlety is for Mesopotamia. Our tour today isn't the textbook highlight reel. It's the blooper reel that explains the highlight reel. When you see a pyramid, think timesheet. When you see a gold mask, think budget overrun. When you see a serene statue, remember someone yelled at 3 interns to make the eyeliner symmetrical. So grab linen, coal, and your emotional support scarab. If Ma'at is balance, we're giving it a gentle nudge, educationally. Meanwhile, somewhere between Memphis and Please Don't Anger the Sun, a very opinionated house pet is about to rewrite imperial policy. Fact number 1. The cat that started a riot. Picture this. A Roman visitor kills a cat in Egypt. Not, oops, more, you just challenged the local religion to PvP.
Grab the beast! Everyone, remain calm. It was just an accident.
How dare it disrespect the offerings?
For centuries, Egyptians linked cats to Bastet, a goddess who evolved from fierce lioness guardian to domestic protector of households, fertility, and joy. In the Nile Valley, where grain stores meant survival, cats saved lives by murdering grain-eating pests. Practical heroism turned into sacred status. By the late period, and into Ptolemaic times, cat cults thrived in cities like Bubastis. Herodotus gushes about festivals there like it's Coachella with more eyeliner. Families mourned cats with shaved eyebrows, tiny coffins, and formal burials. Priests ran necropolius of cat mummies. Amulets with feline forms guarded wearers from chaos. Greek sources recount that at Pelusium, a foreigner killed a cat and the crowd snapped. This wasn't random mob rule. It reflected Ma'at, the cosmic balance. Harm a sacred creature, and the social immune system activates. Even under Persian or later Greek influence, local tradition outranked imperial passports. Governors could smooth taxes. They could not smooth whiskers against the grain of divinity. When you live in a land where the sun, flood, and crops depend on cosmic order, disrespecting a ritual ally, even a furry one, risks existential fallout. That calculus made cats untouchable. So imagine briefing your commander. Sir, we lost Pelusium because the cat had diplomatic immunity and local air support. Copy that. Fact number 2. Akhenaten's One God Speedrun. Royal Memo. Effective immediately, worship the sun. Only the sun. Also, I rebranded. Akhenaten didn't appear in a vacuum. His father, Amenhotep III, presided over wealth, diplomacy, Amarna letters shout out, and a priesthood of Amun in Thebes that had become a state within a state. Land rich, ritual rich, power rich. Enter Crown Prince Amenhotep IV with a vision and maybe a chip on his shoulder. He champions Aten, once a minor solar aspect, as the visible life giver. Temples to Amun shudder, resources reroute. He founds Akhet-Aten, modern Amarna, a purpose-built capital on untouched desert, framed by boundary stelae carved with his theological TED Talk. Architecture goes open air so the sun can literally touch the altars. Art flips. Intimate scenes of the royal family under Aten's rays. Lanky limbs, prominent bellies, and tender gestures replacing square-jawed smite poses. Why the whiplash? Maybe sincere conviction, maybe curbing Amun's political machine, maybe both. Foreign policy wobbles as vassal states plead for troops in the Amarna letters while the king writes hymns. HR informs Amun's clergy they're between cults at the moment. When Akhenaten dies, the old system surges back. The young Tutankhaten becomes Tutankhamen, moves the court to Memphis/Thebes orbit, and restores the gods, with priests happily updating LinkedIn to Amun is great again. Akhet-Aten decays into a time capsule. Akhenaten was the boss who migrates your whole company to Sun OS and resigns mid-onboarding. If you have questions, please consult the nearest disk in the sky. Fact number 3. The Harem Conspiracy versus Ramesses III. Ramesses III. Last great warrior of the New Kingdom. Built big, fought invasions, and paid for it with budget stress. Inside the palace, the harem wasn't just a lounge. It was an administrative world. Wives, children, tutors, servants, guards. A small city with politics. Ranking among queens mattered. Sons' positions mattered more. One secondary wife, often identified as T, wanted her boy Pentuer on the throne over the Crown Prince Ramesses IV. The Turin judicial papyrus and related documents show a web of letters, bribes, and ritual tools. Conspirators recruited palace staff, officials, and even scribes, people who moved between sacred and private spaces. Magic wasn't fringe, it was normal medicine plus security. So wax figurines and spells weren't haha superstition, they were perceived tech. The plan? Strike during a festival when guards relaxed, cause a riot, and slice through to the royal chambers.
Guilt. The court finds you guilt as charged.
Modern CT scans of Ramesses III show a deep neck cut, likely fatal, along with a possible toe injury suggesting a melee. The coup still failed to place Pentuer. Trials convened special courts with nobles as jurors, not ordinary judges. Sentences included execution, mutilation, and chillingly phrased, allowing the guilty to take their own lives. Pentuer likely died by forced suicide. The verdicts were recorded with bureaucratic calm, then sealed. A state saying, "We handled it, do not try this again." So if you're pitching your defense, Your Honors, the doll did it. The court will note, the doll is now evidence. You are not. Fact number 4. World's first recorded labor strike.
Payday's delayed again!
We are hungry! We are hungry!
Deir el-Medina wasn't a random village. It was a gated community of artisans who carved the Valley of the Kings. The state fed and housed them because secrecy and skill were priceless. Pay equals rations, grain, beer, fish, oil. Delays meant hunger, debt, and family stress. In a desert economy where bread literally was wages. Under Ramesses III to the 11th, the economy strained. Wars, temple endowments, and corrupt officials drained logistics. In year 29 of Ramesses III, the rations stalled. The workmen, literate and organized, leveraged their diaries and foremen's notes. They walked off, staged sit-ins at Medinet Habu and other sacred spaces, and filed measured complaints. "We are hungry." That line survives on papyrus because scribes wrote everything, including HR meltdowns. Officials scrambled with emergency deliveries, IOUs, and promises. Spoiler, delays returned, like the flood. The strikes repeated over years, turning into a repertoire. March, petition, negotiate, carve a bit, march again. Alongside, tomb robberies crept up, sometimes implicating the same workforce, a desperate side hustle in a cash-poor system. This strike wasn't a revolution. It was a pressure valve that worked, because the state needed tombs finished on schedule for royal afterlives.
We want bread! We want bread!
Look, the bread carts are here. Fresh loaves at last.
No tomb, no eternal marketing. So the takeaway? Even in a divine monarchy, organized, literate workers with leverage could force deliveries through paperwork and public piety. The world's first recorded labor strike ran on carbs, beer, and very neat handwriting.
Fact number 5. The Great Animal Mummy Hustle. Only the finest sacred mummies.
I must have one for my journey.
Step right up. Almost sold out.
Want divine favor? Offer a mummified animal. Out of animals? Offer the idea of one. From the late period onward, votive offerings exploded. Pilgrims flocked to Saqqara, ibis bulls, Tuna el Jebel, ibis baboons, Bubastis, cats, and Crocodilopolis, crocodiles. Each animal mapped to a deity. Ibis to Thoth, wisdom, cat to Bastet, home joy, croc to Sobek, strength Nile, falcon to Horus, kingship. Temples oversaw breeding grounds and embalming workshops. Think sacred supply chains, herding, slaughter, or natural death management, resin imports, linen recycling, labeling. Demand frequently outran supply, and archaeology shows the result. Bundles with full animals alongside bundles with a token bone, handful of feathers, or just carefully wrapped reeds. To the devotee, the consecration ritual tagged the offering, like sending a signed message. The physical contents were the envelope. Economically, this was brilliant. Steady revenue for temples, jobs for embalmers, and spiritual satisfaction for pilgrims. Ethically, crunchy. But the practice reveals how Egyptians experienced piety: repeatable, tangible, and scalable devotion.
As we walk through the market, notice the difference. Authentic bundles here, symbolic ones there. We have plenty more where that came from, down in the catacombs.
Catacombs hold millions of these mummies, stacked like divine warehouse aisles. Sometimes later burned as fertilizer fuel in the 19th century, a modern twist on Circle of Life. The sheer volume screams, religion can become industry without losing sincerity. So yes, you might pay top Deben for a beautifully labeled ibis that's 70% papyrus. The gods got the message, the temple got your donation, you got peace of mind.
Fact number 6. Pepi II's human flytrap, allegedly.
I really need a transfer to grain duty.
Pepi II, 6th dynasty, reputed owner of the longest reign, possibly 90-plus years. Old Kingdom Egypt glittered with pyramid projects and centralized wealth, until it didn't. Late in Pepi's reign, regional governors, nomarchs, grew powerful, resources thinned, and climate shifts likely pinched the Nile. Against that backdrop, later writers spin a story. Pepi hated flies so much, he stationed honey-slathered servants to attract them away. Is it true? The anecdote is late and probably apocryphal, but it fits a pattern: absolutist comfort theater.
Courts everywhere used spectacle to magnify royal divinity. Egypt did it with ritual precision. If the king embodies order, removing nuisances, even insects, becomes cosmic housekeeping. Pepi's court also features letters like the famous one to Harkuf, praising a dancing dwarf brought from Nubia, a glimpse of personal tastes and the machinery of flattery. Combine that with a weakening center, and you get stories that paint the king as indulgent, while the provinces simmer. Whether honey people existed or not, the tale survives because it crystallizes a truth. When the palace becomes an echo chamber, problem-solving gets sticky. So, picture the balcony. Elderly king in cool shade, 2 interns shimmering like glazed donuts, buzzing like living citronella. Historical certainty? Wobbly. Historical vibe? Painfully on brand for late Old Kingdom optics. Benefits package? Dental, vision, and may become insect magnet at boss's discretion. Please contact HR, Honey Resources.
Fact number 7. Ancient Egyptian medicine was inventive.
According to the Ebbers, the fumes should ward off evil spirits.
Or attract them. Did you check the dosage on the crocodile dung?
Egyptian medicine lived where science and spell met for coffee. 2 key papyri anchor our knowledge. The Edwin Smith, Trauma Manual, rational, likely rooted in Old Kingdom practice, and the Ebers, a vast collection, mixing pharmacology and incantations. Healers were often scribes or priest-physicians attached to temples, trained to observe, diagnose, and prognosticate with formulae like, "versus an ailment I will not treat." They excelled at trauma, splints, sutures, wound cleaning, honey as antiseptic, and moldy bread as proto-antibiotic vibes. Dental work? Brutal, but real. Eye diseases were common in the bright, dusty Nile climate, hence the love of malachite and galena cosmetics that also offered sun/bug protection. But then the recipes curve into crocodile dung pessary territory for contraception, fumigations for fertility, mouse tooth charms for teething, and spoken spells to evict possessing forces. This isn't contradiction, it's a holistic model. Body, spirit, and social order intertwined. If demons were metaphors for infection, both a poultice and a prayer felt logical. Many ingredients, garlic, cumin, willow, actually have bioactive properties. Others had confidence placebo. Doctors were salaried, sometimes paid in beer, and malpractice existed. Papyri warn against tampering with what works. Translation? Don't freestyle near the pharaoh. So yes, the clinic could hand you a splint and a spell in one visit. Side effects may include smell, judgmental neighbors, and pregnancy anyway. Consult your scribe if this treatment is right for you.
Fact number 8. The tomb robbery trials were wild.
Relax, I only hold the lamp. Exhibit A, Lamp Guy.
Royal tombs promised eternal security, but eternity is long, and economies wobble. After the New Kingdom peaked, grain shortages, wage delays, and weak central control opened the door to heists. Who knew the tomb layouts? The very artisans of Deir el-Medina. Who had boats, tools, and night routes? Also them. Plus desert policemen, Magi, stretched thin. The Abbott Papyrus, year 16 of Ramesses IX, reads like a forensic audit. Officials inspect tombs, check seals, measure plaster patches, and interrogate suspects.
They made me do it, I swear by Sobek.
The Ambrus and Meyer papyri preserve confessions, gangs tunneling through bedrock, unwrapping mummies, melting gold into discrete pellets, splitting loot with lookout shares for water carriers. Defendants play innocent. I only held the lamp.
Sure, Nebnefer. Courts balanced spectacle and order. Oaths invoked gods, beatings extracted names, yes, torture. Sentences ranged from execution to nose-ear mutilation and exile. Meanwhile, some officials were complicit, fencing loot through temple networks or private channels. The state's response, more inspections, more seals, was a bandage on a systemic wound. The bigger problem, theology. If kings can't protect their own bodies, what about yours? Priests doubled down on ritual. Inscriptions roared louder about curses. In the Third Intermediate Period, elites even moved burials into hidden caches, like the Deir el-Bahri cache, to keep them safe from everyone. So, no, Your Honor, you didn't liberate gold from eternity. Eternity files an appeal and brings the Magi. Fact number 9. The Festival of Drunkenness, state-approved chaos.
The myth. Humanity makes Ra angry. He sends his eye as lioness Sekhmet to punish. She starts winning too hard. To stop the extinction speedrun, the gods dye beer red, flood fields, and Sekhmet drinks until wrath becomes Hathor's joy. Annual reenactment. The Festival of Drunkenness, especially at Dendera and Thebes, where worshippers danced, drank, and sought ecstatic union with the goddess.
Calendars and inscriptions hint at all-night vigils, sistrum shaking, incense, hymns, and sunrise purification. The goal wasn't random sloppiness. It was trance and catharsis, letting chaos out safely so order endures. Think state-licensed chaos sandbox. Release pressure, renew bonds, return to work Monday. Priests curated the vibe. Musicians and dancers, often women linked to Hathor's service, led the threshold between roar and purr. Why did this matter? Egypt prized Ma'at, but recognized humans aren't statues. Ritualized excess let communities process fear, plague, war, floods, by leaning into a myth where mercy wins. Also, beer was staple nutrition. Ritual drinking wasn't fringe. It was a familiar language repurposed for salvation. Mourning came with offerings, cleansing, and absolutely zero memory of where your second sandal went. Temple archivists quietly logged donations and broken pottery, like seasoned festival staff. So yes, it's piety with a head rush. 3,000 years before, please drink responsibly, Egyptians were already doing theology with chug rules. Fact number 10. Ramses II's Kadesh, history's pettiest draw.
We'll fix it in post! The Fajid me dose.
2 heavyweights, 1 city. In the 13th century BCE, Egypt and the Hittite Empire jostled over Syria's buffer states. Kadesh sat astride key routes near the Orontes. Ramses II marched with 4 divisions: Amun, Ra, Ptah, Set. Hittite king Muwatalli II hid a massive chariot force behind the city and sent fake deserters to feed Ramses bad intel. Result? Classic ambush. Ramses' Amun division camps, Ra division straggles, Hittite chariots slam through the gap like a Bronze Age freight train. Ramses gathers bodyguards and near-in reinforcements, possibly Amuru allies or a reserve, and countercharges. Dust chariot carnage ensues. Nobody secures the city. The Egyptian poem and bulletin inscriptions carve Ramses as solo clutch hero, aided by Amun after his officers lose nerve. The Hittites, meanwhile, keep Kadesh and their coalition intact. After cycles of border skirmishes, both sides sign a peace treaty, circa Year 21 of Ramses II in Akkadian, promising mutual defense and extradition. It's one of the earliest surviving international treaties. Copies exist on Egyptian walls and in Hittite archives, clay tablets. Diplomacy becomes the real flex. Later, Ramses marries a Hittite princess, sealing the frenemy arc. Ramses turns a draw into branding. Temples from Luxor to Abu Simbel shout the Kadesh highlight reel in stone.
So, what did we learn from Egypt's greatest unhinged hits?
A civilization can worship cats, experiment with medical chaos, accidentally invent labor rights, and still stack stones so precisely your laser level gets stage fright. Kings can lose their throats, nearly lose their battles, and never lose their PR. Faith can look like a million mummified birds, and mercy can look like beer dyed the color of a bad decision. We picture Egypt as marble Sirius, silent statues, eternal pyramids, stoic gods. But the papyri gossip, the temples thrum. And the people? They're us. Better eyeliner, worse contraceptives. 10 stories of chaos didn't topple Ma'at. Somehow the balance held, like a scale with a feather on one side and an entire crocodile on the other. And the feather wins because the paperwork says so. Ritual plus audacity plus comedy equals 3,000 years of still here. Next time you see a gold mask, remember the strike notices, the festival hangovers, the court transcripts, and the cat with main character energy. Eternity is a long time. Egypt made sure it wasn't boring. Also, please wash your lettuce. If this chaotic tour made your inner scribe scribble, tap like so the algorithm doesn't mummify us. Subscribe for more history equal parts papyrus and peril. And ring the bell so Ra actually notices when we upload. Drop your favorite unhinged moment in the comments. Or pitch the next civilization we should lovingly roast. Bonus points if it involves cats, beer, or questionable healthcare. And if a pharaoh ever asks you to guard him from flies, check the pantry for honey before you say yes.